We're coming right back at you with another episode of NHL Trade Proposals, the series where you send me your trade proposals either in the comments section of the videos or you go over to my community tab, check out the post I made there, comment down your proposals, and we talk about them on a video here. This episode, the second episode, is going to focus on a potential trade offer made by Tom Giroux in my comments section. This is a trade involving the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Detroit Red Wings. This is what Tom has to say. Brayden Point to Detroit in exchange for Anthony Mantha, Andreas Athanasiou, and a second-round pick. Now, initially, when I was scrolling through my comments looking for trade proposals to make videos about, this one popped out at me first because, obviously, Brayden Point is Brayden Point. And seeing his name immediately thrown in there in a Detroit scenario, my mind just went click, okay, no way, we're not doing that. But then I read the second half. Point for Mantha, Athanasiou, and a second. Why does this one sound a little bit not as bad as I thought it did? I'll leave a poll somewhere. I'll try to leave a poll either in this video on the top. I think you're able to do that. If there is an option to do that, I'll do that. And I'll leave you with three choices. Either yes, you do it and Detroit wins, yes, you do it or Tampa wins, or no, not a good trade for both sides here. So let's go over what exactly this trade entails. Brayden Point is a 23-year-old NHL center who scored 92 points in 79 games with the Tampa Bay Lightning last season. The thing with Point, though, is that he is an RFA and he hasn't been signed to a contract yet. He's still in that loop of being offer sheet eligible, but rumors have come out saying that he doesn't want to sign any form of an offer sheet because he wants to remain in Tampa. That being said, in a trade scenario, he doesn't have the ability to limit a trade, so if the Lightning did step up and trade him, he's got no say in it. Meanwhile, on the other side, we have ourselves Anthony Mantha from Detroit, who's a 24-year-old winger who scored 48 points in 67 games last season and 25 goals. He's at a $3.3 million cap hit that goes until 2020's summer. He's a player who's really developed into a solidified NHL winger in the top six, and he's got potential towards potentially being even more. It's been a slow and healthy development for a guy like Anthony Mantha, and seeing him in a trade like this is definitely interesting. Also, Andreas Athanasiou is also a 24-year-old winger who's played with Detroit. Like Mantha, his contract ends in 2020's summer, where he will be an RFA, although his cap hit is at only $3 million. Athanasiou played in the NHL last season, 54 points in 76 games played and 30 goals. So these two players that you have right now, over a pace of 82 games, Mantha was on pace for 30 and Athanasiou was on pace for 32. Add to that a second-round pick, and you're rounded off. Now, this is essentially a trade of one superstar, bona fide superstar, who has 110-point potential in this league, for two guys who projectedly have upwards of 60-70-point potential in their primes in the NHL. Add to that the second-round pick as well, evens out the value here from Tom Giroux's trade proposal. Now, why would the Tampa Bay Lightning want to do this? Well, case in point, if they're not able to sign Point, what other option is there? If Point is in a position where he doesn't want to accept an offer sheet, and if he's in a position where the Tampa Bay Lightning can't re-sign him despite having upwards of $11 million in cap space, there's definitely room to entertain a Brayden Point trade proposal. Now, people are saying things like, oh, Marner is the one holding everybody up, Marner is setting the market here, but Brayden Point is a player who had equal production to Marner and is a center as well, so there's the value in his game too. So Point, as a player who's not signing yet, or who's waiting to be signed, could potentially enter a realm where he is deemed somewhat expendable. Not to mention the Tampa Bay Lightning also have to sign Adam Ernie as well. They've been making moves, getting rid of Miller, getting rid of Callahan, and getting a whole bunch of goalies to help their cap situation. If they're not able to get a deal done, even with the Tampa Bay taxes, even with the stacked team, then I don't see a trade proposal being taken into consideration as absolutely ludicrous. They would get back 2 players who are only at $3 million each, and a whole bunch of potential with them going forward. Now, they do have RFA status going into the next season as well. They will be shared with Anthony Cirelli, Matthew Joseph, and Danick Martel, which is not something that the Lightning should be looking forward to very much. But if Brayden Point is going to be in a realm where he makes upwards of $10 million, he's going to be the highest paid player on the team. Say what you want about whether or not he deserves to be the highest paid player on the team, but I personally don't see that. Kucherov exists, and Kucherov is only at 9.5. So assuming the Lightning want to get this done, and they do it, they get themselves 2 players who can come in, each get upwards of 50-60 points in a full season, and really wreak havoc in the playoffs, hopefully at least. Would you rather take 1 90-point player or 2 50-60-point players and a second? That's essentially the proposal here. Meanwhile, from the Detroit point of view, if they get rid of Athanasiou and they get rid of Mantha, they will have themselves upwards of about $11-ish million in cap space, 11.5, 11.6, something like that. And that's a little bit more room to wiggle in and squeeze in a Brayden Point. Detroit would want to do this because the sky is the limit for a guy like Point, and he's got so much potential going forward into the next few years. They will not need to worry about anything going into the long term, pretty much, because the guys that they need to get signed in 2020, 2021, aside from, of course, Athanasiou and Mantha, you got Tyler Bertuzzi, Jacob Delarose, Evgeny Svechnikov. There aren't too many players here who would be considered huge gets. And with guys like Henrik Zetterberg on their injury reserve, and guys like Johan Franzen coming off the books in the injury reserve as well, there's a lot. I'd say there's personally more flexibility with the roster of the Detroit Red Wings, especially within the next year, where a lot of their bigger contracts will be coming off the books in Mike Green, Jonathan Ericsson, and Trevor Daley. Those 3 combined are up to $12 million in cap space. So what you're getting when you're Detroit is the absence of 2 really solid scoring wingers, but the addition of a franchise potential center to play alongside of Dylan Larkin and Michael Rasmussen and, heck, Filip Zadina. Seriously, if you want to set yourself up for the future by giving Zadina an absolutely dynamic player to play with, Brayden Point's your guy. Sure, Larkin's really good. Sure, Veleno is really good. But Brayden Point and Zadina, that would be awesome. So, Detroit fans, Tampa fans, what do you think? Would you do this if you were Tampa? Would you do this if you were Detroit? Would you not do this entirely from the perspective of both sides? I did what I can earlier in the video to leave up a poll, so you can go back to the beginning of the video when I introduced the question from Tom over here, and just check it out. Vote on it, see what you want, and say what you want in the comments too, because I'm always looking forward to reading those when I do get the chance. But Point for Athanasiou, Mantha, and a second-round pick. 1 elite 90, 100-point potential guy for 2 50, 60-point potential guys and a second-round pick. That is quite a dilemma, in my opinion, just after really sitting down and trying to digest it, especially the second-round pick, which I believe could be more valuable than most would see at face value because the 2020 draft is incredibly deep. There's definitely a lot of discussion to be had, and I'm looking forward to reading most of it in the comment section below. Also, comment down below more trade proposals. I would love to see those, get more material for this potential August series here. Hope you enjoyed this video. Social 99, and bye.